So let's take a moment here to get a comfortable seat. I've got a bolster to prop me up a bit, sitting up a little bit higher. And once you're comfortably seated like that, we're going to take time to do some breathing. So the breathing that we're going to do is audible. We're going to make a sound of an ah, a sighing sound through the mouth on the exhalation, and then on the inhalation, as usual, through the nostrils. And it sounds like this. Ah. So let's take several breaths like that as a way just to settle and relax and be in tune with our breath. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders. And just one more like that. Inhaling and exhaling, relaxing your diaphragm, relaxing the belly muscles. And then let's take another kind of audible breathing, which is the hu sound, where the exhalation is made through pursed lips. So it's an inhalation through your nostrils. And a gentle out-breath through your mouth. And stay relaxed through the upper body. And just be noticing as you're exhaling, there's a kind of release of the diaphragm. And still a tone through the lower belly, the abdominal muscles, and especially as you complete the exhalation. Let's do 3 more breaths like that. And the last type of breathing that we'll do here is called ujjayii breathing. And the sound that we make is audible, but just to ourselves. It's a very soft sound that's made by closing the back of the throat slightly. So inhaling as usual through the nostrils and exhaling with the mouth closed this time and listening for that soft, sibilant sound of ujjayii breathing. And let's take just 3 more breaths like that. And the ujjayii breath helps us connect with the depth of the breath and with the toning through the core muscles. All right, let's take that breathing into some of the work that we're going to do on the mat. So come on up and Take a lying down position on your mat. Keep a block and a belt next to you. And once you're reclining, just take a moment just to get comfortable there with your legs bent. And then extend the left leg out. Bring your props in close to you. Take your block and place it on the outside of your right hip, right against your outer right hip. Then bend your right knee in towards you. Reach around and hold at the back of the thigh and do an alternate knee bend and straighten. Flexing the knee and then extending the knee with the heel, right heel stretching up towards the ceiling. Just warming up that right leg for the pose Supta Padangusthasana. Sometimes these are called leg stretches, but we're going to work with the hips in particular. So take up your belt and slip your belt onto your right foot. Take hold of the belt in just your right hand and hold along the belt near to your foot. Leave your left arm out to the left side and then take your right leg out to the right in a small movement. And we're not working to stretch the leg so much as to tone the hip muscles. So as soon as you move near to the block or touch down to the block, then switch on the muscles on the outer right thigh and the outer right hip. That's what we're going to be working with here. Keep the left leg extended and lengthened, and then the right leg, we're toning the outside of the right thigh, the outside of the right hip. And then keep the core muscles engaged. You can use your ujjayii breathing here and turn your abdomen to the left side. And keep the contact with the left side of the body and the floor. Let's hold for a little while longer. Make sure that your grip onto the strap or the belt is a light touch. And then let's bring that leg back up to the vertical. Soften the right knee, slip the belt off, and extend the right leg with the left. Pause for a moment and just feel whatever you feel on that leg after the work that you did. Maybe it feels a little bit lighter. And then let's work through the left leg and switching the block over to the outer left hip. Yes, so just warming up for what we're about to do. Hold at the back of the left thigh and alternately extend and straighten that leg and bend the leg. So just bringing a little bit more awareness into the hip. And then slip the belt onto your left foot and take the left hand along the belt near to your foot. Extend your right arm out to the right side, and then let's go left. So we're actually opening that left leg and hip to the left side, but with the support of the muscles on the outside of the left thigh and the left hip. So feel as you lower the leg to the left side and touch to the block. That's a reminder for you to support with the muscles on the outer leg. Keep turning the navel center to the right side and ground the right side of your body so you're not tilting to the left. Beautiful. And then bring that leg back up. Let's go one more round. And taking the block on the outer right hip again. And we'll go straight there. To opening the leg to the right side. And with awareness of the support of the outer leg. So the inner leg is getting a good stretch through the groin, the inner right knee, extending outwards, but the outer leg is pulled in to the leg bones. So the outer shin, the outer hip, the outer thigh. And then let's go to complete this round to the left side. Extend the right leg and pop the belt onto your left foot. Take a grip of the belt nearer to the foot and then hold firm through the right side of your body. Work with those core muscles to turn the belly towards the right side even as you take the left leg to the left. Switch on the outer leg muscles and give the inner leg a good stretch. Groin, knee, and breathing in and bring that leg back up and releasing. And let's have both feet on the floor now, legs bent. And we'll move into downward facing dog pose. So from all fours kneeling position, and in consideration of hamstrings, open your hands nice and wide. I've got my little finger on the edge of the mat. And then as you lift up into your down dog, step your feet out as wide as the mat as well. Flex your knees slightly and then lift the buttocks high and give your shoulders a good stretch here. We haven't concentrated on the shoulders very much, but extend and lengthen the arms, the shoulders, the shoulder blades. And then once you've done that, then see what it's like to gradually straighten the legs and lower the heels. We're moving into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take a walk forward or walk your hands back. Inhale, come all the way up to standing with your feet hip width apart. Bring your hands into the fold at the top of your thighs and take a little bow forward and deepen that hip crease. So we're moving slowly into forward bending here, but the knees stay soft. And then release your hands down along your legs and release your head and shoulders down. Good. Keep the low belly lifted up. So from the pits of your legs to your navel center, lifting up and releasing down. Bring your hands up onto your hips. Bend your knees well, knees over your ankles. Inhale and come all the way up to standing. And let's take downward facing dog pose again. This time, have your feet hip width apart and reach your hands around the outside of your mat. I'll just show you what that looks like. And you're going to take a grip of the outside of the mat, your thumbs on top, your fingers wrap around the bottom. And then this will give you an opportunity to stretch your shoulders once again, as though you're pulling the mat forward. Feel the arms lengthen. Keep the elbows from hyperextending. Use your triceps, use your biceps. And then from here, you're drawing the mat
outwards away from your feet. Then straighten the legs as much as you want at this time. Lower your heels. Take the last part of what you're doing to roll your shoulders out. When you do that, your shoulders will be broad, shoulder blades broad. And then once more, Uttanasana. Take a little walk forward. And inhale and come all the way up. Good. Bring your arms up this time. Inhale, palms facing forward. Soften your knees. Exhale, deepen that hip fold, and then bring your arms down along your legs, or maybe all the way to the floor this time. Lean in slightly towards your forefoot. Feel the weight through your heel bones as well. Broaden your shoulders, release your head and your neck down. From here, walk your hands forward. One more dog pose. Stepping your feet back. So when you look at your width of your legs and your feet, your right foot behind your right hand, your left foot behind your left hand. And then let's take a few of those ujjayii breaths here. Inhaling, exhaling, lengthening. And last time, Uttanasana here. As you come forward, walk your feet forward, walk your hands back. Without coming up this time, fold your arms. Rest your hands into the crease of your elbows and allow the trunk to hang forward. Take support from the core muscles. Lift up from the pubic bone to the navel center. And then let your arms loose, bend your knees over your ankles, and inhale and come up slowly to standing. All right, let's take a position at the wall. And it's back to the wall, your backside to the wall. We'll do Vrishkasana, the tree pose, and the emphasis here will be on your hip work and the buttock muscles, so not so much the balance. So often we're using tree pose, Vrishkasana, as a balancing exercise. Today we're working more through the strength of the legs and the hips. So right up against the wall, heels very near to the wall, and then your hands resting onto the wall. We're going to balance on your right leg. So your weight-bearing leg is your right leg. Lift your left foot off the floor and your left knee towards your chest. Pause there, relax your shoulders, and then grab hold of your right leg and your left leg, place your left foot along your right leg. That could be near to your ankle, the outside of your knee, or in the groin of the right leg. Now, as soon as I did that, I leant my body over to the right side. That just happens. So bring yourself back to center, and you might palpate the hip bones to make sure that they're level and they're in the same plane. And how you'll do that is to squeeze the outer hip muscles. We're not trying to bring the knee back towards the wall. We're just trying to strengthen through those supporting muscles. Feel the left buttock tuck in and tuck under to bring the hips into that one line. And then if it happens that you can balance there and that's coming easily today, then join your hands in front of your chest or even overhead. And then release that left leg. Going to balance on, was that the left leg or the right leg? Sorry, I lost my way there. All right, we're going to have the right leg as the weight-bearing leg. No, the left leg. Sorry. Whatever, the other side. So once you're able to bring the right leg up, the right foot against the left thigh, there's a tilt to that opposite side. So draw the muscles in towards the bone, hip muscles, outer thigh muscles. I find it easier to balance on this side. So if that's true for you too, then bring your hands together in prayer position in front of your chest. Easier but not completely easy. Or bring the arms straight up. Good. Can you squeeze in on the outer hip muscles again? And the right buttock forward. Good. And releasing and coming down and 2 feet on the ground. That took a bit of focus, so give your legs a shake out. And we're going to move on to the Utthita Hasta Padangustasana pose. That's a big mouthful for another form of hip work that we're going to be doing. So I've got a chair here, and I'm going to use it to balance in this one-legged balancing pose. So set your chair up so it's against the wall, so it's not going to slip out. And take a standing position in front of the chair and have your left side facing the chair. Once you're in position, just bring your hands onto your hips. So in your one-legged balancing, it's the outer leg, the leg away from the chair that you're going to balance on, and bring the leg closest to the chair onto the seat of the chair. So lifting your heel, lifting your knee, and bringing that leg onto the chair. Once you've done that, then sort of in the same fashion that happened in tree pose, you've elevated the hip. So drop that hip and draw the outer hips into the body to create a firm support. Strengthen the standing leg, pressing into your footprint, and then draw that thigh back underneath the hip. We're going to release now, so sliding that leg in and 2 feet on the ground, and we're switching sides. So you're going to see my back this time. And standing side on to the chair, the outer leg, your balancing leg, and then the leg closest to the chair, bend your knee and bring the heel up onto the chair. Take pause there. Now that hip, that raised leg hip, elevated, so drop it down. Bring the pelvis into a more compact position, squeezing in from the outer hips. And then if you feel like you're relatively well balanced there, you might bring the arms up on this side.
Good. And then lowering the arms, lowering the leg. And let's go back to the original side and do that all over again. So see if when you place your foot onto the chair, you can do that with a little bit more grace. So bending the knee, raising the leg, and turning it out. So that hip, as I was saying, is elevated. Drop the hip and bring the leg a little forward of the line of the front body so that the hips are in one plane again. Then on this side, drop your arm onto the chair, palm upwards. Onto the leg, and then extend the opposite arm up towards the ceiling and do a little lean out towards the elevated leg. And that's a really lovely lateral stretch. Inhale and come up. Good. And then with grace again, bending the raised leg and back to the floor, and fourth side. Facing side on to the chair again and raising the knee and then taking the leg out. If I keep the leg in line with my buttock, then I've allowed the opposite hip to come forward. So bring your foot and your leg a little further forward in front of the line of the body. Drop the hip and look for the hip bones to be in one line. And then drop your arm onto your raised leg. Take the opposite arm up towards the ceiling and do a lean out towards the raised leg. Good. Release your shoulders. Inhale and come up. And 2 feet on the floor. And well done. We might come back to that pose. We'll see. But for the time being, just leave the chair there and come back onto your mat. There's a kind of balancing pose that we can do while we're reclining. So take a lying down position on your right side. And lie along the back edge of the mat with your whole body in one line. Take your right arm straight out. So your arms and your legs are on that back line of your mat. And that is helped in your balance by having your left hand in front of your chest. And then lift up your head and your chest, bend your right elbow, and cradle your head into your hand. And we've come into Anatasana pose, the reclining Buddha. So as much as you can, lengthen your elbow away from you. And with the idea of working with balance, switch on your core muscles and lift your bottom waist a little bit away from the floor. You might feel that as kind of more energetic working with your core muscles. And then press your lower leg down into the floor and bend your top leg, slide your left foot in along the right leg until it's another plane that you're in, but it looks a little bit like tree pose. And then from here,
and pressing your lower leg down. Release your hand from the floor and extend the left arm up towards the ceiling. So if you begin to teeter-totter, find your core muscles again. Keep the bottom waist lifted. And then release that top arm and extend the top leg. We're going to roll across the belly to the second side. I'll do this a little differently so that I don't turn my back to you this time. Do your setup well. So you've got the length through the left side of your body along your mat. Lift your head and your chest. Your right hand is helping you balance, placed in front of your chest on the mat. And then cradle your head into your left hand. Good. And then just going slowly, slide your right foot in along your left leg. Pause for a moment and then ground the bottom leg. Feel the pressure there, foot and leg. Lift the bottom waist. And then, if you can, and balancing there, use your buttock muscles squeezing into the bone to help maintain your balance. And then see how you go. One side can be very different than the other to extend up your right arm. If that balance is elusive, as it is with me, then keep your hand in front of your chest. Use your glutes, your strong buttock muscles pressing into the bone. I'm going to keep my hand here. All right, let's go one more round, and we'll do this with the help of the strap, the yoga belt. So grab hold of it again and go back to the first side. We'll see if we're ready to move on to progress the pose. And it's just fine, if that's not working for you, to repeat what we've done with just the bent leg pose. Otherwise, lifting up, resting your head into your right hand, then slip the belt onto your left foot. And see how we go to straighten that leg. Now we're not going to bring it back in line with the body. Keep it a little forward of the body so that the hips are in a line. And then if you've been able to do that, or we're starting to release the leg, or if you've been in bent leg, that's fine. And last side with the leg extended if you can. And swap it over. Now I was a little wobbly on my first side, on the round that we just did with the bent leg. I'll see if I do better with a extended leg. For some reason I am doing better. And that raised leg extended, or you might still be in the bent leg position, that's fine. And then keep the bottom leg well grounded. Use your buttock muscles. My right leg is a little forward of my front body. And then in a dignified way, as much as you can, bending that leg down and bringing the legs together again. All right. Let's take a seated position.
So not working so much with balance now. Um, I've got a folded blanket here I'm going to sit on for Upavista Konasana, which is commonly called the splits. So seated with the legs in the wide open position. And for my part, when I sit like this, I can sit pretty well on the sitting bones, but I might make an adjustment here with my hands behind me and drawing up to good posture, but also projecting myself a little bit further towards the front of my sitting bones. So your hands supporting you, and then flex your feet and extend out with a long line of the inner legs, and then feel on the outer legs, the outer thigh muscles and the outer hips pulling into the bone. So you've got a good hip opening, but it's also supported with the muscles around the heads of the femurs. So we don't want to open too much. We want to use strength as much as flexibility. And let's move on from there. Grab the inside of your knees. Just tuck your fingers underneath the inside of your knees. Lift up and draw the feet together in Baddha Konasana. And more than in the last pose in the splits, I find myself projected back onto my tailbone. So I want to avoid that by using my hands to support me and drawing the trunk up out of the pelvis. If your knees tend to be elevated, probably the hips are a bit stiff, so you could prop yourself up with another blanket or sit up higher on a bolster. But if your knees are dropping down, you might help them a little bit by bringing, let's say, right hand onto your right knee. I've still got my left hand behind me, and I'm just going to press that thigh outwards. So I'm not trying to bring my knee to the floor, but I'm just trying to lengthen the right thigh. And then let's see if that works on the other side. And supporting myself onto my right hand behind me, and left hand, left knee, and then pressing the thigh outwards. And the knee does go down in that way. So I've got a little bit more opening than when I started. But we want to support with the buttock muscles on the outside of the thighs. And then from here, grab the outside of your knees, lift the knees up, and extend the legs forward. All right, so we've done a little bit more work with the hips and the legs. Let's try the pose that we did with the chair, the raised leg onto the chair, all over again, and see whether anything that we've done has improved that opening. So the pose Utthita Hasta Padangustasana is called big toe pose. And in the advanced way of doing it, we would have the balancing pose, standing on one leg and extending the opposite leg out. But we're going to do a supported version of that. So if you stand side on to the chair, I'm going to take a higher position on the chair this time and use the top portion of the chair for big toe pose. So if I stand side on to the chair,
and left and right, my left side facing the chair. I'm going to balance on my right leg, lift my left leg, and place my left foot onto the top of the chair. I was using the seat of the chair before in the warm-up phase, and you might stay with that depending on what kind of hip opening you have here, what kind of hamstring stretch you have here. So balancing on my weight-bearing leg, straightening up out of that hip, then palpate the front of your hips again and see whether the hips are level and in that same plane. Then use your buttock muscles, draw the buttocks in towards the pelvis, and right hand, right hip, left hand onto the top of the left leg, turn your palm up towards the ceiling, and then do a lean out towards the left foot. If you want to create a little bit more lateral movement, raise the right arm and take the right arm out to the left too. Good. Feel the hips narrow and drawn in from the muscles to the bones. Inhale and come up. Good. And then carefully lower that leg and switch sides. So you're either using a lower position with your foot on the seat of the chair or raised it to the top of the chair. And side on, right leg comes up. When you look at the position of your right leg, it's a little forward of the front line of your body. So we're allowing for that so that the hips stay in one line. Drop the outer right hip. Bring your right hand on top of your right leg, palm upwards. And do a side bend towards your right leg. As you do that, the left hip starts to come forward. So keep the buttocks engaged, draw the navel up, and then at the last you might extend the left arm over to the right side above your right leg. Right, and then coming up and releasing the leg and the arm down. All right. Let's take a position near to the wall. I'm finished with the chair now, so I'm going to put that off to the side. And I've got a couple of blankets here. I'm going to set myself up near to a wall position. And place my yoga blankets one on top of the other. I've got 2 blankets here. And we'll do bridge pose with the help of the wall and support it onto the blankets. So let me demonstrate first. So there's the blanket set up. I've left a gap between the wall and the blanket edge of the blankets to place my buttocks there. Then when I lie my body down, my shoulders are supported onto these double blankets and my neck overhanging the edge of the blanket. So I've bent my legs, I've got my feet on the wall, and my arms by my side. So I'm well set up to use the strength of my legs to lift up into a small bridge. So pressing feet into the wall and starting to lift the pelvis. But then coming back to ground again. So I lifted up on an exhalation and using ujjayii breath and my core muscles to do that. And also the strength of my legs. And then coming down again. So notice if you've scuttled yourself and the shoulders have slipped off the edge of the blanket, and then reposition yourself so your shoulders are well supported and the neck is suspended between the shoulders and the base of the skull. Press into your feet, and when you come up this time, lift up to whatever height you end up doing, that's fine. And then bring your feet up a little higher on the wall and support with the help of your hands onto your buttocks in lifting up any farther that you can at the moment. And you're almost in, I don't know, a version of Viparita Karani, legs up the wall, or a little shoulder stand. And if you can, and it's working for you as far as your shoulders, your neck, and so forth, bring your hands a little closer to your waist. So I started out, my hands were on my buttocks, a little closer to my waist. And then starting from the bridge pose, now we're in a half shoulder stand. Raise one leg up. Back to the wall. And raise the other leg up. And back to the wall. In the last part, and you might be ready to come down and have a rest, and that is a fine thing to do if you need to. And otherwise, you might have one more pass at holding your hands closer to your back ribs. Switch on your outer hip muscles again, as though you're trying to lift the outside of your hips. And then we're not going into full shoulder stand today. Press your feet into the wall, release your hands, and lower down. Nice and easy does it, very slowly back down to the ground. And just before your buttocks touch the ground, bring your feet down a little bit, press your feet into the wall, and slide back away from the wall. So your buttocks are up on the blankets and your shoulders are on the floor. Might be nice to keep your feet on the wall at this point to release your back. From here, we are going into Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. So take any props that you want to elevate your hips, or it's fine just to be lying down with your back flat and your buttocks near to the wall with your legs elevated. And I'm going to take a bolster, and that's the right height for me for legs up the wall. And we're going to do a few variations while we're there. So take a little bit of time. Sometimes it's a kind of awkward position to get into. So take your time to nestle in towards the wall. One of the awkward things is when your t-shirt comes up to tighten up around your throat. So I'm going to draw my shirt down and do a little bit more to get my buttocks right in close to the wall. So I've started with my legs in the extended position. And keeping them still extended, I'm going to open them out into Upavista Konasana or into the splits. I'm fairly flexible in this position, but I'm going to limit my movement in extension and bring my legs up a little bit and use the muscles on the outside of my thighs and the outside of my hips to strengthen my legs in this position. Where my legs rest on the wall, I'm on the center of my heel bone, in the center of my calf muscles. And I'm working the pose by pressing my heels. The inner leg is lengthening. The outer leg is contracting. The outer shin bone, the outer thigh muscles, the outer hips. See if you can feel that. Shoulders can be relaxed, tucked under, broad. And from here, we'll take the legs into Baddha Konasana. So you did that seated. Let's see what it's like with your legs elevated. So bending your legs, bringing the soles of your feet together. Now, with the position of the pelvis, see if you can move the tailbone down a little bit. So we're preserving the lumbar curve. Rest your hands onto your knees, but don't press your knees towards the wall. We're not trying to create an opening. We've been working with strengthening the legs and the hips. So feel the outer hips and the outer thigh muscles holding to the bone again. Relax the top of your chest, the throat. And then let's finish this sequence by extending the legs up. Notice if you've slipped away a fraction away from the wall and nestle in again. And find your favorite position for your arms. So either out from your shoulders in cactus position, or even the arms folded across the torso. And then let's spend a few minutes here in just straight Viparita Karani, just closing your eyes, observing your breath. And to whatever extent you can, releasing the back body to the props, to the floor. And before we find our way to Shavasana, to exit from the pose, we might just bend the legs, push back from the wall without rolling to either side, just pushing back from the wall. And far enough so that if you have a bolster there or um, uh, some support, you might rest your legs in cross-legged position for another way of opening the hips. Or Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And take several breaths there. If you had your legs crossed, fold them the other way. And take time to set yourself up well for the most important pose, Shavasana. Why is it important? Because it takes a great deal of awareness to be in Shavasana and be completely relaxed and still alert at the same time. I'm going to use a bolster to support my backs of my legs, my knees, and one of those folded blankets to support my head. If you like, get an eye covering. And the point of the props is to make yourself as comfortable as possible. So take time here to do a couple of important adjustments. If you lift your pelvis a fraction off the floor and then lengthen the base of your spine so that when you bring the buttocks back to the floor, it feels you've got all that length, but the lumbar curve is still there. And then do the same thing for the upper body. Press your arms into the floor. Lift your back chest a fraction off the floor. And then when you allow yourself to be supported again, feel the shoulder blades nice and wide, shoulders broad. Heels are slightly apart, so the inside of your feet, the inner arches of your feet relax. And the muscles release from the two bones of the lower legs, right leg, left leg. The inner knees soften. And the groins recede towards the bones. And then all the work that you did with the outer legs to tone them, to strengthen them. Feel the quadriceps, the hamstrings. Release any gripping whatsoever. The buttocks also loose on the bone. Relax the belly, the pelvis, and feel the breath there, soft breathing, the diaphragm. And the whole back body supported, the back of the head releasing into the soft prop. The whole back body releasing and grounding. And as the bodies become motionless, we want that to reflect the mind quietening. And finally, relax your eyes and with an internal gaze looking down and into the heart center. Notice the state of your mind at present here. Notice whether the mind has been busy or drifting a bit, whether you've begun to think about moving out of the pose. And just stay a moment longer. Just be where you are in this moment. Quiet. And then just as you're ready, and slowly fold your arms in, fold your legs in, and roll onto one side. And take several breaths there lying on your side. And then help yourself up and let's sit together to finish our session. And just reviewing what we've done in this session today. We've worked with balancing, we've worked with the legs and the hips, working towards creating strength and stability. That's what we want.
When I was first learning yoga, I was all about gaining flexibility and hip openings and that sort of thing. But at this stage, and probably it would have been better if I'd started earlier, I've been working more towards core stability, strength, and that's what we've done today. So bring your hands up and place them in front of your center chest in prayer position. Incline your head towards your heart center. Take a couple of breaths there into the heart center, into the lungs. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.